Day, everyone, and good afternoon wherever you are joining us from, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on KUAM TV. I'm Jason Salas, and this is the HotSpot.
And I'm Sabrina Salas-Massanani. Here's what's in our news server.
The menu, brought to you by King's Restaurant, always open, always local, and Ruby Tuesday Guam, home of the Fresh Garden Bar.
In our data drop today on a Tuesday, we head to the CNMI where Tomas Manglonia joins us live for new developments in the impeachment hearing process for Governor Ralph Torres.
The Guam Ethics Commission plans to meet about the recent GVB board meeting where allegations of conflicts of interest were raised.
And we're going to tell you the very latest with a missile defense system for Guam. Well, right off the top of the show, we head about 100 miles north up in the northern Marianas as our Tomas Manglonia is standing by. He's at the House of Representatives in the months-long legislative deadlock that has resulted in the delay of retiree bonuses being paid.
But, Tomas, we are also hearing some major updates with the impeachment hearing of Governor Ralph Torres. What can you tell us?
Good afternoon, Bree and Jason. Yes, some major developments here on Saipan on Capitol Hill on two political fronts. First, the impeachment trial of Governor Ralph Torres. We are aware and can confirm that Gil Burnbrick, CNMI Governor Ralph Torres' legal counsel and government, did file a motion to dismiss in the Senate impeachment trial of Governor Ralph Torres. Of course, that will undergo its own process, which will allow the House to rebuttal, but that motion was in fact filed this week. And secondly, we also did confirm with CNMI House Speaker Edmund Villagomez that he is likely to appoint Representative Selena Babauta as the House prosecutor. If you've been following our coverage, you are well aware that the Senate impeachment trial rules first set up the House Speaker to be the House prosecutor in the Senate trial of Governor Ralph Torres, and then it would go to the impeachment committee chair. Both the House Speaker and Senate House impeachment committee chair declined, and so now it is up to the House, per Senate President Jude Hofschneider's recommendation, to suggest a name. And so we were told that House Speaker Edmund Villagomez is likely to appoint Selena Babauta, Representative Babauta, as the House prosecutor. Of course, this significant being that Representative Babauta has been at the helm of the JGO committee, the legislative committee that has been investigating Governor Ralph Torres for the past few months. And we also expect to see the governor and his attorneys in Superior Court on Thursday at 9 a.m., where they will be also entertaining a separate motion to dismiss and essentially invalidate the initial legislative subpoena, which the governor, according to the House, has violated, and which ultimately led him to being the first governor to be held in contempt for failing to appear before the House in its investigation well before the impeachment vote took place in January. And secondly, following up on that long saga of retiree bonuses, there continues to be bickering between the House and Senate. Some might describe it as a game of political ping pong that has happened over the past few months. First, the governor proposed and promised $500 retiree bonuses in December. There's been legislative gridlock, a deadlock really, in terms of how to get this legislation passed. It's been several months now since the proposal was made. Today, they did vote, in fact, yes on yet another legislative action, in this case, House Bill. 14 lawmakers just moments ago here at the legislature, 14 voted yes to move forward with the House bill. 1 voted no, and 5 lawmakers were absent. Of course, as many lawmakers here from both sides of the aisle have admitted in the discussion and in a press conference last week, it's not likely that the Senate will act on this bill, leaving the gridlock yet to happen for another week and hopefully not for the coming months. However, they did point out that they are still open to meeting in conference. The House has appointed 3 lawmakers to meet in conference, and the Senate has yet to do so. So if this bill fails, that brings them back to the very beginning of having to talk to each other. One Republican lawmaker pointing out that on the island of Tinian, he heard a story of one retiree who passed away, which meant that they're not able to receive the bonus. The bonuses have taken several months now, still no action. Tangible action taken to meaningfully pay out and fulfill the promise of Governor Ralph Torres, and it's yet to be seen what the Senate's response will be to this yet again another action by the House to fulfill Governor Ralph Torres' promise. Bree and Jason, we will continue to bring you the latest, and we'll have more tonight at 6 on primetime from the CNMI.
Thank you, Tomas. Definitely a lot of activity going on in the CNMI with respect to the impeachment process for Governor Ralph Torres. And as you heard from Tomas, he will have the latest tonight on primetime. President Biden today unveiled his proposed fiscal year 2023 budget, focusing a large part on military spending, $773 billion for the Department of Defense alone. According to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, the president's budget allows DoD to develop, procure, and modernize capabilities to ensure combat credible forces across all domains, to address the pacing challenge from the People's Republic of China, and to address acute threats from Russia. The budget includes $6.1 billion for the Pacific Deterrence Initiative, which includes military construction, defense of Guam, missile warning and tracking architecture, and mission partner environment framework for multinational information sharing, as well as the Pacific multi-domain training and experimentation capability. The PDI, as reported, calls for a 360-degree shield of defense positioned on Guam to defend against threats from countries like China and North Korea. As reported recently, representatives from the Missile Defense Agency were on island conducting assessments of about 18 to 20 military properties.
And with more on the president's budget is Deborah Alfarone.
President Biden unveiled his nearly $6 trillion budget proposal for fiscal year 2023.
We're reducing the Trump deficits and returning our fiscal house to order.
It proposes a corporate tax rate increase to 28% and a billionaire minimum income tax, which would require households making more than $100 million to pay 20% on their total annual income.
A firefighter and a teacher pay more than double the tax rate that a billionaire pays. That's not right.
The president's budget also takes aim at reducing crime with more than $30 billion for community policing and law enforcement. But it comes as Americans are facing the fastest inflation hike in 40 years.
If the spending side goes through, but the revenue side does not, that would increase the debt and also run the risk of stimulating the economy, contributing to rising inflation.
Democratic leaders here on Capitol Hill have praised the president's budget as bold and strong, but it faces an uphill battle in an evenly divided Senate.
The White House is desperately spinning to call this budget centrist, but there's nothing remotely moderate about what's in it.
The president's proposed increase in Pentagon spending as Russia wages war in Ukraine has drawn criticism from some allies. Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders said in a statement, "At a time when we are already spending more on the military than the next 11 countries combined, no, we do not need a massive increase in the defense budget." Deborah Alfarone reporting for KUAM News.
Chairman Bernie Sanders, you saw him there in that final shot, says the Senate Budget Committee will hold its first hearing on the president's budget on Wednesday.
The Guam Ethics Commission will be turning its eye to the Guam Visitors Bureau after GVB President and former Governor Carl Gutierrez called out several board members for conflicts of interest. Executive Director Jesse Kenga says if an open government announcement gets through in time, the commission may discuss the GVB drama in a meeting next week, Wednesday.
Particularly, the commission is interested in identifying if all the required reportings and forms have been filed accordingly with the Guam Election Commission. If there are cases of conflicts of interest, those are matters of jurisdiction for the commission, and that I have a sense might be the direction the commission may take.
Meanwhile, the Ethics Commission holds its first meeting this Thursday since standing up the formal ethic complaint process. Kenga says the commission will review 6 complaints and determine whether to move forward with them and conduct investigations. The complaints will be discussed behind closed doors. Kenga says this is in compliance with the law and also protects the complainant and the subjects of complaints. If you need more information or would like to find out more about filing an ethics complaint, you can call the commission. The number is 671-969-5625.
Also this afternoon, in order to start several high-priority renovation projects, the Port Authority of Guam wants to shift around some of the $71 million it received from a revenue bond it floated several years prior. Agency General Manager Roy Respicio says they need the legislature's approval to do so and are seeking a sponsor for a bill that they've already drafted.
Senators previously authorized them to shift money around, but they're now finding that per-project spending limits are hampering their ability to prioritize.
We're going to make our case very strongly, and we're going to ask them to remove those caps and allow us to move all these monies around, identifying the priorities set by the board, and doing everything through procurement.
In effect, they've been robbing Peter to pay Paul. But bottom line is, with rising costs, they will eventually exhaust the $71 million in revenue bond money before completing all the work.
But the biggest challenge of all is Hotel Wharf. You've heard us talk about that over the last 3 years and what we're going to do with that. The budget for Hotel Wharf is 24 million. We had one bid come in at 59 million.
Respicio says there's no plan to ask for any general fund money from the senators or the governor. He says they're looking for federal grant funding and also leveraging Guam's strategic military location and asking DOD for help.
We're telling them, don't build to capacity, build the port up to the capacity that meets their standards to be able to realize their operations.
They might also seek to refund the current bond.
We could, as an option, repackage everything and then go out to a bond. Again, our bond posture is significantly improved.
Respicio says to do everything they want to, they'd need about $300 million, but he insists they don't plan to raise rates, at least for now.
Governor Liu has made it very clear when she allocated the $15 million American Rescue Plan monies to the port. She made it clear that she did not want to see the port raise the tariffs for at least 2 fiscal years.
For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
All right, we are going to take a break, but stay tuned because the hotspot continues after this.
But first, we head to a higher ground.
Destroy the works of the evil one and the kingdom. From the law of sin, this is the gospel of Christ.
We hope you'll take your Bible and study along with us as we learn more about God's Word for us, right here at the Gospel of Christ, each and every Sunday at 5 p.m.
This is the gospel of Christ.
KUAM Communications presents a special multi-platform series showcasing women leaders in our community during Women's History Month. Throughout the month of March, KUAM News digital media platforms will feature daily weekday profiles of women in business in our community. And every Monday on KUAM News Primetime, we're showcasing a different woman leader and a special feature profile. Women Driven is brought to you locally by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank.
My tip is, the worst lies are the lies you tell yourself. Like smoking isn't that dangerous.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW.
Uno Mixed. We're mixing it up on the last Thursday of every month with a look at lifestyle, entertainment, food, and so much more on the stations, networks, and digital platforms of KUAM Communications.
Uno Mixed is presented to you by Docomo Pacific, Better Together, and Pepsi. That's what I like.
Local Music Mashup. For the first 3 Thursdays of every month, sit back, relax, and vibe out as we showcase Guam's local talent through their video submissions. Tune in for Local Music Mashup on KUAM TV8 at 6:30 p.m. and TV11 at 7:30 p.m. Or catch it on KUAM digital platforms. You're not going to want to miss this.
Local Music Mashup, sponsored by Burger King. BK Your Way.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
Yo, Joe!
I love you.
Every choice is a chance to find his perfect life.
The adoption agency reached out.
Ordinary Joe, Mondays on NBC. And all episodes are streaming now on the NBC app.
KUAM Communications continues our perpetuation of our Chamorro culture, language, and heritage, with features available to our listening and viewing audience, including streaming of Chamorro music 24 hours per day on Isla Digital Radio on KUAM.com and the KUAM News app. Chamorro News Update, weekdays on the link and the KUAM News YouTube channel. Conversations about life in our Chamorro language podcast, Cuentos Tapoco, with Kin Conception. Seasonal specials, shows, and other features highlighting the beauty of our language, culture, and history. It's a new era of our continued commitment to our Chamorro heritage. Isla, watch, listen, stream. Viva Isla!
Let us know what's up on our KUAM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.
Welcome back. Although a mask mandate is no longer in effect for Guam's military installations, one does remain in effect for the island. According to Public Health, although our numbers are declining, we're not in the clear just yet. Daniel Perez has the latest with Guam's COVID status according to the CDC community risk metric.
We hope to keep seeing this downward trend so that perhaps by later this week, maybe we might be able to qualify for the low risk category.
The numbers speak for themselves, and according to lead epidemiologist Dr. Annette David, Guam remains on the right track in exiting the Omicron surge. According to the latest numbers, the new cases per 100,000, Guam had over 1,000 cases by the end of February. As of March 23rd, the island is now seeing 237 new COVID cases, just 37 more above the 200 cutoff, keeping us into high risk in terms of new cases per 100,000. As for the COVID admissions at the hospitals and beds occupied by COVID patients,
the 7-day admissions was 28 per 100,000 at the end of February. Last week, we went to 9 per 100,000. So that moved us to moderate for that indicator. And then percent of total staff beds was over 10% at the end of February. And last week, we were at 5%. So as of last week, we moved from the high risk to the moderate risk category. And that's where we're at now.
Although we are on the right track to a sense of normalcy, Dr. David continues to urge residents to remain vigilant.
The virus is still there, so it's reassuring that the numbers are going down, but I think we all have to remember it's not completely gone. So I know everyone is so sick and tired of this virus and we want to quit the virus, but the virus hasn't quit us yet.
The elderly and those with comorbidities remain the most vulnerable to catching the virus. They are encouraged to take extra precautions to remain COVID-free. Mask wearing and vaccinations continue to be our main weapons in stopping the COVID spread. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
We shift our focus now to crime news as 30-year-old Adrian Nego was arrested for allegedly abusing a woman he knew and holding her against her will. Court documents also accuse him of holding a torchlighter to the victim and threatening to shoot, rape, and murder her if she tried to leave him. He also allegedly threatened to cut off her head, cut her body in pieces, and burn her family in their sleep. On March 26th, he allegedly took her hostage in his home. The victim was able to convince Nego to drive her to his cousin's house the next day. When her cousin called the cops, he allegedly kicked the door down, grabbing the victim's backpack. Officers later observed Nego in a physical altercation with the victim in a car. Police saw him drive off with the victim still hanging outside of the car. During a pursuit, he jumped out of the moving vehicle and ran into the nearby jungle area. Nego was already on probation for another case in which he was ordered to stay away from and not harass the victim. He faces charges of kidnapping, burglary, and family violence.
Keeping with crime, a 47-year-old man is accused of threatening two men with a knife and biting one of their faces. Police responded to a Umatic home over the weekend where they arrested Vincent Paul Cruz Tapasnia. Court documents state that Tapasnia and one of the victims were arguing about a motorcycle helmet that Tapasnia had taken. He's then accused of grabbing a kitchen knife and telling both victims, quote, "You want to challenge me? I'll destroy both of you and I'll kill you." The situation calmed down briefly after a household member stepped in, but Tapasny allegedly picked up another knife, grabbed the back of the neck of the other victim, and bit his face. Tapasny faces terrorizing and multiple charges of family violence, both with special allegations of use of a deadly weapon and the commission of a felony.
Well, living up to their lifelong credo of Semper Fi, always faithful, our Tyler Matanani brings us a story of a U.S. Marine who rucked some 24 miles to honor his best friend, who is also his brother in arms.
Always caring for others. He was very compassionate about how others felt every day. Always checking up on people, making sure everybody's having a good time.
Ricky Pack was in Japan when he got the news that his best friend, Jaron Wallbacker, had been killed.
I was in Japan, it was 4 a.m. I was getting like 30 missed calls.
Jaron was pronounced dead following an altercation outside of a Tumuning restaurant one early Saturday morning in October of 2021. Arrested were 22-year-old John Maliaga and 31-year-old Fiata Galuia Aki.
I didn't know what to feel.
Jaron and Ricky's friendship sparked in the 6th grade over their love for basketball. Their similar passions in life later led to the two joining the Marines. First Jaron, then Ricky.
Best memory of him was probably when I graduated boot camp. You know, I haven't seen anybody for 3 months, and he was the first face that I got to see from home in California. Seeing his face that day really meant a lot. My best friend seeing me graduate.
On March 26, Ricky rucked 24 miles from Anderson Air Force Base to the Veterans Cemetery in Petey in honor of Jaron's 24th birthday. A world of different emotions and memories of their friendship flooded his mind.
Just, our friendship throughout the years, him not being here, just the thoughts of what could be and what happened.
Ricky hopes that Jaron's death will serve as a reminder to everyone to never take life for granted and to always think about the consequences of their actions.
It just feels like he's in California and I'm in Japan, like how it's always been. So I feel like he's still alive somewhere, that he's not actually gone.
For KUAM News, I'm Tyler Matanani.
Thanks, Tyler. Before we head into the break, more tax refunds are being paid out this week. Department of Revenue and Taxation processed 2,535 tax year 2021 and prior refunds totaling almost $8.3 million. The refunds are for taxes filed on or before February 10th. For more information, contact DRT's call center at 635-1840, 1841, or 7614. You can utilize the Contact Us section on myguamtax.com.
And please stay tuned because the hotspot will continue right after this.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Local Music Mashup. For the first 3 Thursdays of every month, sit back, relax, and vibe out as we showcase Guam's local talent through their video submissions. Tune in for Local Music Mashup on KUAM TV8 at 6:30 p.m. and TV11 at 7:30 p.m. Or catch it on KUAM digital platforms. You're not going to want to miss this.
Local Music Mashup, sponsored by Burger King. BK Your Way.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
KUAM Communications presents a special multi-platform series showcasing women leaders in our community during Women's History Month. Throughout the month of March, KUAM News digital media platforms will feature daily weekday profiles of women in business in our community. And every Monday on KUAM News Primetime, we're showcasing a different woman leader in a special feature profile. Women Driven is brought to you locally by Bank of Guam, the People's Bank.
The KUAM Podcast Network is back and on demand, featuring a great variety of podcasts from our island and region, including culture, lifestyle, awareness, crime, politics, commentary, comedy, and entertainment. Available on most streaming platforms. The KUAM Podcast Network. Subscribe and listen now.
This message is brought to you by the KUAM Care Force.
KUAM Communication is your home for star-studded entertainment from America's top networks. From specials, concerts, award shows, and can't-miss red carpet moments. It's all on KUAM TV 8 and KUAM TV 11. Check KUAM.com and our social media pages for showtimes and schedules. Network specials on KUAM Communications are brought to you locally by King's Restaurants, Ruby Tuesday Guam, and Docomo Pacific.
Let us know what's up on our KUAM News WhatsApp tip line at 671-727-0094. Share information about what's happening in your town, on Guam or the CNMI, and what you want us to know. Reach us on WhatsApp at 671-727-0094.
Welcome back to the Hotspot, everybody. Hope you're having a pleasant afternoon. Well, the number of people who have fled the Ukraine is now nearing 4 million, according to the UN Refugee Agency. The most intense fighting is now happening in the eastern part of the country, where Russia is concentrating efforts and may be focused on trying to split off part of the nation. Skylar Henry has the very latest.
Ukrainians in the southern city of Kherson took to the streets to protest the Russian invasion and occupation, as explosions could be heard in the distance. Pentagon officials believe Russia has launched nearly 1,400 missiles into Ukraine, but isn't furthering its advance on the capital city, Kyiv. The Kremlin says ceasefire negotiations will resume Tuesday. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's ready for a compromise in the eastern Donbas region, which has been partially controlled by Russia-backed separatists since 2014. Here in Washington, President Biden is downplaying unscripted comments he made over the weekend when he said Russian President Vladimir Putin cannot remain in power.
I want to make it clear, I wasn't then, nor am I now, articulating a policy change. I was expressing the moral outrage that I feel, and I make no apologies for it.
Idaho Senator Jim Risch, the ranking Republican member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, called President Biden's comment a, quote, horrendous gaffe.
Skylar Henry reporting for KUAM News.
Well, not to be outdone, the Kremlin issued a statement in which they said it's not up to the American president nor any American to decide who will run Russia, saying it is up to the voters of Russia to decide for themselves.
From the NMI, the 8th Women's Summit is currently underway in Saipan after being postponed due to COVID-19 last year. The summit, hosted by the Women's Affairs Office, is themed Gender Equality, Key to Sustainable Development. Women across industries and agencies on Saipan, Tinian, and Rota are coming together to discuss culture, health, peace, and a range of other issues. Officials at the start of the ceremony celebrated the fact that Guam has its first female governor, that the NMI House of Representatives has historic female representation, and that the current cabinet at the governor's office also has historic female representation. You can view the full opening ceremony on our YouTube page from the link this morning.
Well, speaking of amazing women from this part of the world, we leave you with another amazing cultural performance, ceremonial tradition dance from the wonderfully talented people at Gumarasad Atsalati. Please have a safe and pleasant day, everyone, and we'll see you tonight at 6 for prime time.
iri menalo ay Marionas itanohu Islas Marionas Tonu Tamoru Iuritanitano Itasin Pacifico At matan tranquilo Ni guinahalo peligro Ay Marionas itanoho Islas Marionas Tonu Tamoru Iguinay Finimalo Hakagai Pau Flores Sumilong tani simienti Miguinay tato ni tanota